What's up, everybody? Paul here from the Hoops Crew, and it's NUFF of the week time, our round 22 nomination. And this week it goes to Essendon's Dylan Shiel. And look, I usually try to avoid having cracks at the opposition from the given week, but his behaviour this week was truly NUFF-worthy, and so he's going to cop it between the eyes this week. And I want to remind all of you as to what he's actually done before we kind of pick through the details here. Here is the act, and it's very wonderfully highlighted by Fox Footy here. Dylan Shiel sent straight to the tribunal for dangerous friendly fire act to a teammate. Now, it's interesting that the MRO has cited, or I guess identified Mark O'Connor as the victim player in this. Wouldn't say that's the case, but this is the act in case you haven't seen it from the game. Ball goes up, and at face value, you go, oh, Mark O'Connor's just tunneled the bloke. Let's go back and take a closer look, though, shall we? Let's scrub back a second or so here. Boom, there's the push from Dylan Shiel. Kind of obscured by the box a little bit there, but the push from Dylan Shiel pushes Mark O'Connor into the contest, causing the tunnelling act. And Lual, his teammate, down, with hits his head and, out for the rest of the game, concussion protocols, all of those kinds of things. Now, what do we learn from this? Well, there's a huge amount. I want to kind of talk a little bit about it. I want to talk about the consequence the AFL's issued so far, what they determine to be an appropriate consequence. But we'll do all of that after a quick word from our sponsor.
The Hoops Crew Media Network is proudly sponsored by Cyril Cook Florist. Visit them at shop 1211 Leather Street in Breakwater. Phone them on 035 222 2244 or visit their website at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au and use the offer code GOCATS in the voucher field at checkout to get 20% off your next online purchase.
Thank you, Cyril Cook Florist, as always, for your ongoing support of the Hoops Crew and all we get up to. Now, let's get into the breakdown of what we know so far from this incident before I really start to kind of lay it on with Dylan Shiel. So Essendon's midfielder Dylan Shiel has been referred directly to the tribunal for a dangerous pushing act, I should say, that led to a scary collision with teammate Luamon Lual during Geelong's win over the Bombers at GMHBA Stadium. Please check out my match reaction if you haven't already seen it. Cats win by 44 points. Shiel, during a contest on the wing in the second term, shoved opponent, I'll pop that in there, Mark O'Connor, into the pathway of Lual, running back with the flight as the young bomber was tunneled and flipped backwards. Lual was eventually able to get to his feet and leave the ground with the trainer in a sigh of relief as he appeared to avoid serious injury. The 20-year-old returned to the game after halftime and was subbed out for tactical purposes. Tactical? Did your medical staff just not check for a concussion properly? I don't know. It's a pretty bad fall. But anyway, I won't dare critique the professionalism of the Essendon doctors. But, you know, the Essendon Football Club and their doctors have history. So I guess the thing that's been really interesting about this, and there's been conversations about this push into the contest for quite some time. And what we've seen every single time has almost been, if we were to kind of reimagine this scenario here, we'd see Mark O'Connor get pushed and a Geelong player who's leaping for the ball gets his legs taken out from underneath him. And so you go, okay, it's a very clear correlation there that sure, it wasn't directly against the player who fell, but it was a push against a Geelong player, an illegal act that then caused injury. You can kind of connect the dots. In this case, the thing that's really novel about this is that it's a friendly fire situation. That makes it really quite quirky. And this is where we can kind of jump to the consequences so far. We do not care about what's going on in the rugby here. It went ungraded as a rough conduct charge, with the match review findings stating that the AFL recommended a one-match ban, citing O'Connor as the victim player. Mark O'Connor's not the victim here, but whatever. I guess your system is so rigid and so binary that you can't. It's just so dumb. Anyway, the AFL's view is that the suspension of one match is an appropriate penalty, having regard to both the impact to O'Connor and the significant potential that Shiel's teammate Luamon Lual could have suffered a serious head or neck injury arising from Shiel's unreasonable conduct, which caused Lual's head and neck to make contact with the ground with force, the statement read. I don't agree with this. Now, if this was directly against, if this was a push directly against O'Connor and Mark O'Connor was the one to get injured, the consequences would have been far higher. And the fact that it's kind of a a friendly fire act in the end that is the one that kind of makes it really complicated and kind of messes this thing up, and I think is leading to an incorrect response, really. Like, one match I don't think is appropriate for this. I can't see, and I guess like I'm looking as we speak at the MRO's classification table. For it to be considered 1 week, considering that it is contact to the head or the neck, so high contact, that would be that the act was considered intentional but low impact, whilst being high contact. Sorry, but there's nothing low about that. I know the article here, and I think it's far too flippant where they say significant potential, like having regard to the impact, could have suffered his serious. Like, that comment is okay, but then when I flip back to this, appeared to avoid serious injury. Sorry, but we're in this day and age where the head injuries, the concussions, the HIA protocols, all the stuff that we have to go through as an AFL industry these days around protecting the head. This is not a one match consequence. I know it's a very complicated one, and I guess it's going to become kind of a baseline for a lot of stuff to come, but one match is not it. I could accept medium. Now, I would still argue that it's intentional, it's high impact, but I guess there was no concussion in the end, so we'll dial it back just a smidge. Medium contact, high, 2 matches if it's a early guilty plea, which of course he'll have to plead guilty in this scenario. Sorry, I should make mention of that too. It would be 2 weeks, 1 if it's an early guilty plea. But I don't subscribe to the idea that we're going to get 1 week. It's 2 down to 1, I suppose, is what they're getting at here. But no, I feel like it should be 3 down to 2. And that's simply because this could have been a 2-week-long injury to Lual. You don't know how Mark O'Connor gets hurt in that. In fact, could have hurt 2 players in this process. And so I flat disagree with the outcome or what's been determined so far. That the AFL's recommendation of 1 week, I think, is then kind of being contrary to what the AFL's been driving at with head impact injuries in the last few years. But that is what it is. Moving aside and focusing on Dylan Shiel, mate, how stupid do you have to be? Seriously. And it's finally, and we've seen scenarios like this kind of over the course of the year, but finally it has gotten to a point where a teammate has impacted their own player, like another player from their own team, because of this stupid action. We need to stomp it out of the game. Now, I haven't seen it really pop up. I mean, look, of course, tunneling has occurred in the past. I remember there was a little spate of it maybe 10 years ago, the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it was promptly stomped out. But this kind of pushing the player into the contest, not someone who's jumping, but pushing him into the contest, then causing another player to get tunneled, is something I feel like I've only been seeing in any sort of level of significance this season. And it's got to go. And Dylan Shiel, I firmly hope that you cop more than just 1 week for this. It's a stupid act. It's a very dangerous act, and you deserve to cop multiple weeks for it. Give him 2 so he can come back for the second half of their final round. As far as I'm concerned, that's what it deserves. But my God, how stupid can you be, mate? You're on the edge of being delisted as it is. Can you just make a sensible play here and not try and take people out in kind of illegal, slimy kind of ways? Those are my thoughts on it anyway. I wish I could kind of nuff both parties in this scenario, the AFL and Dylan Shiel. I'll just focus on Dylan Shiel because he's the idiot that did it in the first place. Please, can we just rid the game of this stuff? It is so dangerous. And we don't want to see neck injuries like this. It's just fraught with danger, and it's got to go. Those are my thoughts on it anyway. Dylan Shiel, you're the Nuff of the Week this week. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe to the Hoops Crew, like this video, share it with your friends and family, get the word out there about all the content we're creating. There's lots of awesome stuff there for you to enjoy. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/thehoopscrew, where you can kick in a few bucks, 5 in fact, and get early access, extended and exclusive content delivered directly to your email inbox. There's a 7-day free trial also to see if that's for you. You'll find me on socials at Paul James Games. The Hoops Crew is at The Hoops Crew. And until next time, Dylan Shiel, you're enough. Remain Geelong strong, everyone. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you later.